Hi guys, it's Trina at John's Furniture Repair here, starting another small project in the shop. And it's this little stool here, little Roxton style stool with the woven seat. And it's pretty wobbly. And someone's done some repairs and put some giant screws in here to hold the seat tightly on. So it's going to be a collaboration between me and my friend who does some weaving. So first of all, I need to get this thing apart and get it all sturdy for her. So let's get at it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is get these plugs out, and there were only two in the chair. And the other two were glued in, which these are never supposed to be glued in. So I had to actually drill these guys out. So we'll just be replacing these guys. So someone has gone in there and put in giant number 10 screws. And they're just probably, you know, the attachment point in here is really worn out. So let's get these off first and see what we got to work with here. I mean, it's not too large. I mean, if it's was doing its job, I wouldn't disagree with this. It was always a screw, but we'll just see if that was actually necessary in the first place. And that one is completely missing or broken off. It looks like it may be broken off in there. So that's not going to help. This one's not even screwed in all the way. And it's a different screw altogether. So let me grab the number 2. And last one over here. Bunch of glue in that one as well, so I'll use my number 2. And it's just spinning. Okay, so lucky me, opposite corners. We got one that won't come out and one that's broken. Could be 2 together, so we'll have to work this guy out anyways. There we go. 10th time's the charm. Yeah, so this was just jammed up behind. They had sunk the screw too deep for one, but and it was unthreaded out there. So if you can get something like a putty knife or something to grab those threads, then when you unscrew it, it'll actually ride your shitty pliers. Don't use your good ones, and unthread itself along the blades of the pliers there, or your putty knife, whatever you can get in. So we got that one out. We should be able just to pop up this seat and pull out the one that's broken on the other side. So yeah, this guy's just broken off in the chair. And that is that. So I'm just going to mark where these go and take apart the rest of the chair. Okay, so like happens sometimes, there's little pin nails that I did not see when I was looking at this. So we'll just have a few repairs. They're just tiny little pin nails in the joint to hold this in while it dries, which they do in the factory so they don't have to clamp things. So I'm just gonna try to get these guys out before pulling the joint apart, but these little pin brads just want to break usually, and they don't come out nicely like old nails. They're just kind of really cheap wire and usually just want to break. You kind of end up I mean, the joint is loose, but there's a nail in it and you can't get it out. Like, what are you gonna do? You gotta get that guy apart. So if you get lucky, you get them out and you keep your joint together. So I'll work on getting all those nails out, and then we can continue to take these joints apart. So I'll just keep the little pieces that I've got here that need to be re-glued on. So the other thing we're going to be doing for this piece is giving it a really good clean. This is a Roxton stool, and the finish is going to be in great shape underneath because it's a baked on powder finish. And so it's just really, really dirty, and it'll clean up really nicely. So we're not refinishing this stool. Just a really nice cleanup will do wonders for this guy, because you can see, you know, like there's dirt and grime all over the legs. That's everywhere. Milk and chocolate and ketchup and scuffs and all kinds of stuff. So I'll be pulling nails forever. Okay, so once you get the chair apart a little bit so you can get individual dowels, if you cannot get to the nail, which is in most cases here, the best way is to try to break that nail off inside before taking the joint out. So the best way to do that is to roll it. So I'm just going in a circular motion, I'm not pulling up, and that's gonna walk this dowel in this joint and pull that nail right through. And it's actually gonna walk the dowel right out too if you do it long enough. Definitely a labor-intensive way of taking a chair apart, but when you have nails in every joint, and you don't want to end up with a million splinters, it's kind of the only way you got. You can see it coming up there. There, so I can see that that's free. Now I can just tap that, and hopefully you don't have any damage. So you see how that just kind of curled around the dowel. It did still take this little tiny chunk out here, which I will glue back in. But in terms of pulling the joint out with the nail, that's a way better method, but you have to be able to get off one side to do that. So that's kind of tough. So I'm just gonna have to hope that one side has the nail sticking out enough that I can pull it out and then kind of rock it out that way. So just looking here at the next joints, we already have one trying to split on me here. And the nail is kind of embedded. So I'm gonna try to get this nail out here, which is sticking out a little bit in this groove, if I get lucky. It's barely sticking out there. You know, and if these were substantial nails, I could actually get a grab on them, but they mostly just want to break instead of come with my pliers. Yep. So, I mean, we're probably just going to end up having to break a few joints here and do a bunch of little splinter glue ups before this goes back together, because these are all loose and they have to come apart to properly be re-glued. So there's no two ways around that. So yeah, we're just gonna have to make a little bit of a mess, which happens in this shop more than I'd like it to, but we'll just have to kind of see if we can coax that joint out. This one wants to come out on this side, but that side's broken. Can maybe grab the nail now that I can see it a little better on that side. Right in the middle of that break there. Got one. Good stuff. So now I'll leave that that one in there. So I know this will come out without breaking any more of this, and I can turn that one out. It'll be this joint down here that will not want to come out, and it's actually tight, but I have to get it apart for that one. So we'll just hit it with the mallet and see who is moving first. There we go, we got movement there. So a little nail pop up, so I'm gonna try to pull that nail before I do anything, even though it's really not working out for nail pulling. Try every time. Nope, so let's hit it again. There we go, we got a little bit more of it sticking out there. Just does not want to come. So we'll just have to splinter that little piece there to get it to come out. That wasn't the worst splinter, but it doesn't make me very happy that I have to do it this way. And there, I got it out. Okay, and then this guy, I have to pull, there we go. So now on this joint, I can twist using my twisty motion, and then this one I'll do that as well to pull that nail through. You can see it being sucked back into the hole there as it turns around with the dowel. Good. You can see it just turned around there. And we'll take it out. I mean, there's probably some very tedious ways to slowly work things out of their hole, but you guys gotta remember, I gotta make money at this business, so getting these things apart quickly is important, but I mean, causing the least amount of damage also is important. So I've got a brad nail in here. There we go, got that guy out. That one is free. And so these two I can twist together. Okay, so now that we got everything apart, let's get to doing some of these repairs first before we glue the chair back together. And then it will be all ready. So I mostly have all the pieces just next to where they need to go. So I'm just gonna use carpenter's glue to get these guys back together. When you're gluing these small chips, it might not seem significant, but you do need to make sure you have your fibers lined up and all your pressure in the right spot, or else you're gonna have all these pieces that kind of have edges and stuff sticking out, and that looks kind of messy. And usually they, you know, when they rip out in a direction, if you put them back in that direction, then they lay down pretty good. But, you know, if there's a piece of a fiber that tore, and it kind of ripped in a weird way that you can't lay it back down. You almost have to just cut that section off sometimes. So I'm just gonna check. So like this piece here, I need to come in this way so that these fibers that tore out of here where the nail was, kind of push back together that way. It's not as easy as just kind of putting it back there. You gotta do it in a direction. And you wanna get some glue in those fibers, right on the point there where it's gonna go into that section. Because then those will meld back together as well. So I'm gonna pop it in and I'm gonna push it down back into the fibers there. And now I can get some pressure downward. And you just want to check, you know, around your turnings. Is it lining up nicely? Is it a little crooked? Do you need to give it a little tap with the hammer? Because you really don't want to have to do, I don't want to have to do sanding or anything on this, because we're just going to be cleaning this finish up. So yeah, make sure your clamps are kind of directionally located and pushing everything in the right way. So I'll put that one aside. And just gonna pop this under while I'm drilling them out. So I'm not, you know, gonna make the hole any bigger. I just want to make sure if there's a glue chunk in there that I get rid of it. Or maybe some of the wood fibers from pulling the nails out are sticking up and get in the way of things. I definitely don't want to change anything about the joint. There we go, that's done. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is just clean the dowel ends. I'm gonna tape one of these Japanese files, and I'm just going to remove the old glue that's still on them. All these little things that you could not do and the job would turn out fine, but is your repair going to last as long as it might have if you would have taken a little bit of extra time and made sure that these joints had good wood contact with the new adhesive? I don't think so. Just like my finishes need tooth to grab onto, my dowels in the joints and the glue needs tooth to grab onto fibers of the wood. If you have a finish, or it's really smooth, or you've got a bunch of old loose glue chunks sitting on here, your glue's gonna fail, and then you're gonna have to be, you know, some parts will be really stuck and some parts will be loose. And you're gonna be left with kind of a half loose, half tight chair. So eventually, anyways, I was debating whether to clean this before I put it together, but I don't think it's gonna be that hard to do it while it's together. So I will wait on that. So let's mix up a batch of epoxy and get this thing in place. Okay, so I've got my epoxy here. just a little bit more of a thin epoxy, because Roxton Stool's joints are excellent. So definitely don't need too much of a gap filler on this one, but still prefer epoxy. So now I've got everything labeled here. You'll notice on chairs when you're gluing them together, they have shadows of the stain where the chair used to sit. So this would have been, you know, in the dip of the round. So you can kind of tell when you're putting things together. I mean, there's also a bottom and a top. You can kind of tell that from looking at the stain pattern too. But if you put you seat your dowel in and you just turn it, which is also good to get the glue everywhere, it'll kind of seat in a spot where you'll notice there's no stain or white wood, sorry, no white wood showing. Now I've got my labels on the same side, so I know that that's right, but I also see on the dowel there's no white wood left showing around, so I know that that's where it's supposed to go. We've got number 10 here. And if I notice that the dowel is a little looser in the joint, I do add a little bit of extra epoxy. Just, you know, maybe this joint got a little bit more worn out and rocking back and forth on the stool. Compressed the wood in the joint and just kind of over time made it a little bit loose, or maybe it always was, who knows. Good. To glue this together, I am going to put the seat on, even though I'm going to be taking it off again, because to reweave the seat, it's just so much easier with this off. But to glue up the chair, I do want to make sure that I'm using, that I'm getting the right square and getting the right holes and everything and where they need to be, and that's not going to compress at the top, so that when I want to put the seat back on eventually it doesn't fit there anymore. So I'm just going to put a couple of the old screws back, not going to tighten them up, just so that it's sitting here and I know that when I need to take it off and put it back on, the chair hasn't been glued in a way that doesn't allow that to happen. So now I'll get a bunch of clamps. And I'm gonna put pressure on every dowel. And there we go. So the seat can just sit up there loosely. All right, so I will let this sit overnight in clamps, and then in the morning we can come in and scrub off all this grime, and then it'll be up to my friend to come in and weave the seat. So I'll see you in the morning. Okay, so it's the next day here. Let's get all these clamps off. There we go. Chair's looking good and sturdy. Everything is all good, so I'm just going to peel off all my little tape labels here so we can get to cleaning the stool. And I'm going to use, sorry, the name is escaping me right now. I'm going to use card cutter to clean off all of the gunk. So I'm gonna get some water and just mix. I have some crud cutter in a jug, so I'll just mix a concentrate into some water and then just scrub this thing down because I think it needs a good clean. Okay, so now that I've got it all clean here, I'm gonna get to doing a little beeswax polish before my friend gets to working on the seat here. She won't be here for a couple weeks, so I can get this all ready for her. And I'm not gonna take off the old seat just yet. I'm gonna let her do that so she can see a couple of details about it. So I'm just gonna be using Howard's Beeswax Polish. Get it on my table here, and I'm going to use a gray Scotch pad here, and I'm just going to scrub it into all of the dowels and the turnings. And there are a couple of parts of this finish that are worn through, so this will just kind of protect those areas. Not very much, just a little bit, give them a little bit of moisture. And all the areas that we had to scrub really hard, where there was paint, house paint always gets all over furniture. Someone probably used it to sit on while cooking or stand on when they were painting a wall and trying to reach something. Seems like a handy size that someone would just grab. With these Roxton finishes are always revivable for the most part. Some of them are really toast, but usually on the chairs a good clean and a polish makes them last for another 20 years. I think what really breaks down finishes is the oils in our hands. So you notice like the backs of chairs where you would grab stuff. That is where most of the finish breaks down because of all those contaminants. So if you want to clean your furniture a little bit more often, it might actually help the finish to stay in better shape, especially in those areas, to get the oils off. So I'll just scrub this all up, and then I'm just going to wipe off, when I'm done the whole chair, I'm just going to wipe it off with the rag, and that will be the most that I do until the weeding's done. All right, so there it is, all put back together. Got the seat all nicely woven, nice and tight, looking really great. Got the fasteners all figured out and the plugs back in there. Had a couple extra that I put in. So yeah, just a quick little fix on a nice little Roxton stool. Conceal all of our chipped repairs. Can't see any of those things, so it's looking really nice. And we just did the beeswax polish on this one, and the finish is in great condition. It's a little worn right there where you put your feet, but I kind of like that look. So yeah, thanks for joining me on this little project, guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you are enjoying my videos, and we have a ton more on the YouTube page. Do check them out. And if you want to buy me a coffee while I'm working in the shop, there's a little link in the description that you can tap on and buy me a coffee while I work on all this stuff. And just help me to be supported while I make these videos for you to enjoy. All right, cheers.